Hey, everybody. On this episode of the Nerd Today podcast, we review the seminal Japanese role playing game that is Earthbound. Let's talk about it. Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Nerd Today podcast. I'm your host, your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, aka your Nerd Today, Carlos Rodriguez. How are you? I hope you are well. We're trying to get back into the swing of things. It'd be really good if this was a Spider-Man related video and I said swing of things, kind of swinging into action. But no, we were just talking about the seminal Japanese role-playing game that is Earthbound, as you heard in the, before the intro. I'm really excited to talk about this. I'm really excited to get into the review and what my thoughts are. But before we get into that, let's give a special shout out to the people who make this show happen. That's right. My Patreon's over at patreon.com/nerdtoday. Hopefully awesome, Matt and Maggie. Love you guys so much. I did forget this one last time. My podcast partner in crime, Rest Pass. So sorry, man. I forgot to shout you out last time. I was definitely recording into rest. As you can tell, my eyes were all puffy because of allergies, but I had so much done. I was like, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, check us out. We're back on April Work Podcast. If you love wrestling, links are down below. Check us out. Give us a sub. Give us a follow. Letting us know what you think about professional wrestling. We'll be recording a new episode this week as well, that we'll have out soon. But as well, we have Susan, Brandon, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, let's kick in to and Jeff. Oh my God, Jeff. Oh my God. And it's funny because I keep telling you to remind me about the PlayStation. You remind me, and I forgot again. Look at me. Look at me. Typical Carlos. Anyway, let's get into this review of the seminal classic, Earthbound. Developed by Ape and HAL Laboratories and published by Nintendo. Producers on Earthbound were Shigesato. Sorry if I'm pronounced this incorrectly, Mr. Itoi, and Satoru Iwata. And it was directed by Itoi himself. I played this on Switch. It just got released on the SNES online. So if you have like the Switch Online service, you can play older games, which is how I played it. Story: Earthbound chronicles the adventure of Ness, a 13-year-old boy who journeys around the world using his PK or Psi to collect 8 melodies in order to save the future from an alien of pure evil, intending to sentence all of reality to the horror of eternal darkness. Thank you, Earthbound Wiki, for summarizing this crazy ass game that is so beautiful. Gameplay: Earthbound features many RPG elements. The player controls a party of characters who travel through the game's two-dimensional world that's composed of villages, cities, and dungeons. Along the way, battles are fought against enemies, after which the party receives experience points for victories. If enough experience points are required, a character's level will increase, yada yada yada. It increases attributes, strength, defense, all that's the typical stuff that Earthbound does. But Earthbound does break traditional RPG features by not utilizing an overworld map. In that you can go around town to town, and it's not like you're like, for instance, for Final Fantasy 1, shout out to Chaos Bringers, we are starting that soon. You go to a town, leave, and then you're in the overworld. You can go from next town to next town, things like that, with random encounters, things like that. You see the enemies. Hell, even when you're strong enough, you can fight enemies without fighting them. You just touch them, or they'll even try to run away from you to avoid the battle. And if you do touch them, you just gain the experience points. That came in really handy when me and my wife became overpowered in this game playing it. All right, time for the spoilers section. If you haven't played this game, please do yourself a favor. Play this game right now. Again, it's on Switch Online if you have that through the SNES app. Play it, beat it, come back, watch this again, rewatch it. Just keep watching it a bunch so I can get views, all that jazz. You know how it is with YouTube. and listening as well, so I can get some money. So this could be another job. But yeah, so spoilering is gone now that I've also just said I wanted to make money off of this. Um, there is just way too much to cover when it comes to spoilers, but play this game. I think there might be some minor gameplay choices from the 90s that modern audiences might have some trouble with now, but I believe you can be addressed by playing the Switch Online version. For instance, you can like pause in the middle of a dungeon if you need to do something. Like for me and my wife, we were, obviously we have two kids, so pausing as they woke up from their naps or randomly woke up from a nightmare, it made it much easier to play this game and get through it. Also, it made it much better and easier to get the Sword of Kings, which we'll talk about later. Story wise, it's just amazing. It's worth the damn hype. It's been hyped. I mean, the whole time I've like been cognizant of this game, like seeing it in Nintendo Power, seeing it in Game Pro, ZGMs and stuff, and then list upon list upon list through the ages. Now, time for the negative. As I mentioned in the spoiler section, it does have a lot of very early 90s, RPG elements that don't really necessarily come across to modern audiences. So, save points, for instance, not just being able to save wherever, things like that, difficulties, leveling up, the grind that comes with those traditional RPGs of that era. And even now, I mean, there's still that do that, there is that, but I think I was lucky enough to play the Switch Online version, which is the most ideal version because the Switch Online is an emulator. And since I mean, listen, that's an official one. There's unofficial ones out there. I ain't saying I ain't no pirate. I just been watching a lot of One Piece. You know what I mean? Straw Hats for life. But if the Switch emulates the SNES, so you have the ability to pause, rewind in certain games, save, make a save state, which helped so much because the most negative thing I can say about this game, and this is a completely optional thing to do, but I did it because me and my wife were so convinced and I wanted this to be like the definitive playthrough for her, who's beaten the game like 8 times, I think she said. I wanted the Sword of Kings. She mentioned it was this like ultimate weapon that you're like. I'm not even joking when I say this. He's like Kung Fu Master Po, or Pooh. I'm sorry, Poo Pooh. Uh, can get. He doesn't use weapons other than this one thing, and it's like a 1 in 128th chance that you can get it, and we got it, and it took hours and hours and hours, and literally I cannot imagine how many hours. I don't even know what my playthrough hours were, but because of the Switch Online, the good thing was we would run through, and once one person was like, I am completely exhausted and done grinding in this, trying to get this sword and leveling up. It's like a flip of a coin, like two sides of the same coin. Like, hey, I'm gonna get this awesome sword, and at the same time, I'm gonna be uber powerful to fight Gigas at the end. Um, it was annoying, I will say that, but thankfully, I get into Switch Online and be able to pause and have save states. I would just pause, give it to my wife. She'll play for like, I swear to God, 3 hours trying to do it while I'm just on like Reddit or, seeing is there any quicker way or just losing track of time and listening to Point of Progress or whatever podcast I want to listen or watching One Piece. I was doing like another thing and then she would get tired and I would do it again. We would just keep, she's reading her book as I'm trying to grind out this thing. It was insane. Um, I if you're not playing on Switch Online or something that can have save states, I would say don't go for the Sword of Kings. It's very annoying and like sours the play through, I think, of the game itself. That's just my opinion though, to be honest. Um and it's a nitpick. It's completely optional and I went for it. So that's I'm kind of at fault myself. But once we got it, I mean that feeling was absolutely amazing. And then I, had the beginnings of a new show that should be starting very soon. So it's kind of cool in that sense. But yeah, it was just too much. But thank God for the save states. Finally, Earthbound is a masterpiece. through and through. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time now, and one of my favorite games now of all time. On its own, it's a 5 out of 5, but I personally got to play this with my wife, who this happens to be one of her favorite games of all time, if not her favorite game of all time. And it added this beautiful layer of like awesomeness to what is already this poignant, humorous, beautiful game. It added even more. So honestly, because I created my own scale and I can do whatever I want, um, it's getting a 5 out of 5 officially on the Nerd Today scale. But it's my show and I can do whatever the hell I want. It gets a 100 out of 5. Um, just due to the emotional experience I had just sitting next to my wife, and seeing how happy it was for her to see me play this game, something that she holds so dear in her heart for the first time. It was a really great bonding experience for both of us. It was beautiful, and I don't know. It's so funny that like a lot of me and her's relationship has began and started because of video games and our love of them, and we got to share something new all these years into a marriage and a relationship. It was just beautiful. And if your partner loves games, share them. It's amazing time, and it makes everything so much better. It's just cool. Video games are cool, guys. It's just awesome. All right, and that is it. That is my review of Earthbound. What did you think of the review? Please like, share, subscribe. If you're listening on audio, go to YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, go to audio, follow me there, 5 star that, Comment down below if you played this game. What games do you like to play with your partner? Do they like games? What games do you think you can introduce them into the world of gaming, and what cool stuff can you come across, and what bond over? Like we bond over Zelda, to start our relationship off. And we both have Zelda tattoos that we got on the same day, now. And we both, now she got to show me her favorite game of all time thanks to Switch Online. But let me know down below. And for everyone else, thank you for stopping by. We'll keep churning out these reviews little by little now that we're getting on a good pace. I love y'all. I'll see you next time.